The greatest riddle of all? How the hell do I write a script for a video about the Riddler?
Because it's Thursday.
Hello, Watchtower Database, and welcome back to The Vanishing Point, the only bi-weekly YouTube show that dissects small chunks of the DCAU timeline to answer questions that you never thought to ask. Just a couple weeks ago, I put up a poll on my Twitter feed to see which Batman rogue you guys wanted me to talk about next, and overwhelmingly the results were that you wanted an episode on the Riddler. Honestly, I was really looking forward to this one at first. Trying to figure out just when Edward Nygma hit the scene was always something I had a little bit of trouble with, so I was looking forward to spending a weekend going over all of his appearances and trying to piece together the puzzle for myself. For a little bit of behind the scenes info, whenever I make these episodes, I start by putting together a list of appearances of the characters between both episodes and comic books. I start off with the TV episodes, and if there's not enough information there, then I move on to their comic book appearances and take notes there as well. Obviously, episodes and comic books where these characters are the central focus take the highest precedence for me, but if there's not enough information to glean from there, then I'll move on to comics and episodes where they may have cameoed, and sometimes even just where they were mentioned but never even appeared. So going into making this video, that list was nearly 30 entries long, but then the unthinkable happened. I sat down and turned on Riddler's first appearance, the episode If You're So Smart, Why Aren't You Rich? And almost immediately I had a revelation. The cubicles in the Competitron office are totally foreshadowing for the Maze of the Minotaur that we see later on in the episode. But, oh, wait, what's that in the bottom corner? It's a calendar marked 1992. And then moments later, we get this on the screen. So, Riddler debuts in 1994. But you see what my problem is here? We're only about 2 minutes into the episode and the mystery's already solved. So now that I have all that laid out for you, my question of the day is, was that an interesting episode of The Vanishing Point? As always, I'd love to hear your opinions down under in the Australia box. Before I go, I want to thank all these lovely people for not clicking off the video and realizing that there's still more to this. But where do we go from here? Well, while digging through the rest of the Riddler's appearances, I came across one that wasn't as familiar to me. Batman and Robin Adventures number 5. Written by Ty Templeton, Second Banana really caught my eye because of the unique artwork. Unlike most issues of this run, which were drawn by either Ty Templeton himself or Rick Burkett, this one was drawn by Tim Harkins, who's probably most notable for this Rugrats strip from the Nickelodeon magazine. Sorry, I don't know why I'm crying in the club right now. Past the unusual artwork in this book though, the story itself features Joker, who has just recently escaped from Arkham Asylum to kill an ex-goon who owes him $20 by hitting him in the head over and over again with bananas. While in the middle of this attempted murder, the Joker hears from the television Dr. Richard Sprang, named after real-life Batman artist Dick Sprang, say that out of all of the Arkham inmates, Edward Nygma is probably the most clever of them all. Of course, this sends the Joker into a jealous frenzy because he thinks of himself as the most clever. So, leaving the ex-goon alone, he sets out to kill the Riddler, which we then find out is actually a diversion so that he can get away with killing good old Dr. Richard. Of course, being the Joker, once he's got Richard out of the way, he goes after the Riddler anyway. But it turns out that the Riddler's under the protection of Batman. And the icing on the cake, the box of exploding cigars that he sent to Richard Sprang never actually made it to him because he's been in protective custody the entire time. After reading this story though, I thought to myself, well, I've already got when the Riddler debuted, so it would probably be pretty fun to see if I can figure out just when he almost died. And ooh boy, this one was a doozy. So strap yourselves in, we're going on a ride. James, play the theme song again. Of course, our first clues come from within the story itself. Many pages show that it's snowing in Gotham, so we can deduce that it's winter time. And knowing that Riddler debuted in 1994, and that Batman the Animated Series concludes by January of 1997, that gives us either winter of 94, 95, or 96 as a starting point. Turning to another Ty Templeton written story though, Gotham Adventures number 1, set after Batman the Animated Series was revamped to The New Batman Adventures, mentions this murder plot as having been a few years back, which would lead one to believe that is probably closer to the tail end of the Batman the Animated Series section of the timeline. But of course, that's nothing definitive. There's gotta be more clues here somewhere, right? Well, returning to Second Banana, along with Riddler, we see another inmate in Arkham who doesn't really get much of a spotlight throughout the DCAU. I'm talking about none other than Lyle Bolton, more commonly known as Lockup, from the Batman the Animated Series episode Lockup. It's a pretty straightforward name on that one. Other than this issue and his debut episode, Lockup only ever showed up 2 other times in the DCAU. In Batman and Robin Adventures number 13, and then as a fear gas-induced hallucination in Batman TMNT Adventures number 4. In his eponymous episode, Batman suspects that Bolton is going to target Hamilton Hill and suggests that Harvey Bullock put a security detail on him, to which good old Hammy responds,
"You want me to hide during a crisis? How will that look to the voters?"
Theoretically, Hill's language could be interpreted as the citizens or whatever other synonym you want to go for here.
I think I've been poisoned by my constituents!
But I think the wording's intentional to be around the time of Gotham's mayoral elections. Let me see if I can explain. Looking at Batman Adventures Volume 2, Number 12, which we've previously established before to take place in June of 2001, we learn that Hamilton Hill lost his election to the Penguin the year before. This would lead one to believe that while the mayoral terms in Gotham start in December of a year divisible by 4, as evidenced earlier in that comic run, the election itself happens earlier in the year, sometime between June and December. So if my theory holds up, that would make this episode mid to late 1996. Well, at least most of the episode. Surprisingly, Lockup gives us 2 time jumps, a 3-week gap of less importance, and then a 6-month gap in between when Lyle comes up with his plan and when he finally decides to execute it. Before that 6-month gap though, we get this news report from Summer Gleason.
Since that day 3 weeks ago, Lyle Bolton has been unavailable for further comment. Next up on Gotham Insider, she's gorgeous, she's deadly, and she's back in town. Once again,
Look at
Poison
the way
Ivy is
these
researching
monsters
Gotham
are
to the
turned
devil's
into
illusion of another batch
heroes.
of plant-related
It all
crimes.
starts with the permissive
Blood
liberal
splatter,
media.
The villainous vixen of Vines made off.
Damn it, liberal media! Wait, Lockup's the bad guy here, right?
We're going to get nasty letters saying,
How will that look to the voters?
Anyway, other than a brief cameo in Arkham Asylum during Harley's holiday, the last time that we see Ivy is during the episode House and Garden, which, if you'll remember, ends with her leaving Gotham City altogether. And seeing as Arkham Asylum is still technically in Gotham, it seems that the news report saying she's back in town was a reference to the episode House and Garden. So, turning attention to that episode, Dick tells us,
Hey, we got finals coming up.
context clues, like the fact that the whole episode is based around plant clones that would probably die if it was closer towards the winter, point towards this being spring semester finals rather than fall semester. But if that's not enough,
What's she doing now, sir?
Buying squash.
typically, squash ripens in the summer. So this episode occurs around May. But that's not where the timeline clues end. We also learn that Ivy's been clean for 6 months prior to these events.
She was our first guest, but we ruled her out.
You mean she's still in Arkham?
No, she completed her rehabilitation 6 months ago. The board gave her a clean bill.
Meaning, we've had no Ivy adventures since the November beforehand. And this is why both House and Garden and Lockup occur in 1996. Throughout the course of the Vanishing Point, we've established that Two-Face Part 2 takes place in November of 1994, followed up by Two-Face's flashback in Almost Got 'Em, the episode Off Balance, and the events of Batman Adventures number 21. If Ivy were to quit crime in November of 1994 and then go clean for 6 months, leaving Gotham in May of 1995, not only would this have the flashback from Almost Got 'Em in November of 1994, but the episode itself month. Which, let's be honest, really busy month for Two-Face. Not to mention the way that he opens his story.
There was this time I had just robbed the Gotham Mint of $2 million in $2 bills.
Not, hey, this just happened the other day. So House and Garden is sometime around May of 1996, and Lockup at least 6 months later, but I think I can narrow it down just a little bit more. Looking at production order, Batgirl Returns comes 3 episodes after Lockup, but if you look in the air date order, it comes right before, which is interesting because in that episode, Bruce is out of the country trying to establish a business merger.
This Wayne Corp merger is vital for the European common market.
And then in Lockup,
Thanks for the exclusive, Mr. Wayne. Do they always include such a sumptuous meal?
Only when the topic is a successful Wayne Corp merger.
also in Batgirl Returns, we see this nifty poster that lets us know that the Han Dynasty exhibition is occurring sometime between November 12th and 21st. Sure, technically that shows up in a dream sequence, but when Barbara wakes up, we come to find out that that exhibition is actually taking place in the real world as well. And you know what's 6 months after May? That's right, the month of Hoy. Did you guys not think I was gonna mention the animation mistake that makes NOV kind of look like HOY? Because I was going to. Surprise. Now, this 6 month turnaround means that Ivy was out of Gotham for all of 2 seconds. But we're also not sure how long Bruce was out of town in Europe. With Batgirl Returns potentially taking place as late as November 21st, it seems very plausible that Bruce could have been out of town until December, giving Ivy likely a month out of town altogether. And in case you guys were keeping track, this would land the episode in December of 1996, putting us right around the time that Hamilton Hill would have started his second term as the mayor of Gotham, explaining why he's concerned about the voters. Either way, ending our lockup related tangent, due to Lyle Bolton's appearance in Batman and Robin Adventures number 5, you know, the one we started off talking about where the Joker tries to kill the Riddler, as well as the cap-off of January 1997 for the events of Batman Adventures The Lost Years, this places the events of Second Banana in winter of 1996. If that wasn't enough though, Paul Dini wrote another Riddler story in Batman and Robin Adventures number 3, just 2 issues beforehand. This one, titled A Christmas Riddle, is set around, well, Christmas. In the story, Riddler mentions that he has been teasing the tiny minds of Gotham citizens for years now. And seeing as we've already established his origin in 1994, that would mean this could only take place in December of 1996. Likely, the story is maybe a few days before Christmas because Harvey Bullock is present, and we already know what he was doing on actual Christmas Day of 1996.
What are you doing for New Year's?
Same thing I did for Christmas. My laundry.
So, as I've laid out, it seems as though House and Garden takes place in May of 1996, with Batgirl Returns in November of the same year, followed by Lockup probably December of 1996, with Riddler being arrested around Christmas time, probably a little bit beforehand, and then almost killed by the Joker days to maybe weeks later. Really busy holiday time for the Riddler. But now that I have this all laid out for you, my question of the day is, what other Batman rogues do you want me to try to pin the origins down for? I know you guys would probably stick around for any of them, but it doesn't mean I'm not curious to hear which ones might be the most popular. So as always, leave your thoughts down under in the Australia box. Before I go though, I want to thank all of these lovely people who have helped support us on Patreon this month. I know that I usually give the same spiel about Patreon at the end of each of these videos, but I sat down and looked at it and realized if each of our subscribers gave us $1 a month, just $1 that they wouldn't even miss, all of us who work on this channel would be making more money than we do at our real jobs. Even if just the ones of you who watch these videos just did $1, we'd at the very least be skirting by with about the same money that we do make at our current day jobs. It's really helpful if you guys decide you want to help out. And there's tons of perks over there there that we try to give you guys in exchange for that money. For instance, we have polls for you guys to help us pick the next videos, live stream hangouts, merch, custom artwork, and just a lot more. So if you're interested in any of that at all, or just genuinely want to help us out, you can head over to patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower and get the full list of what we offer for you guys. But past just the Patreon, if you didn't want to be a monthly patron and still wanted merch, we offer that up in our Teespring store, which you can find the link to in the description box down below. As always though, I've been Maddie Washburn, this has been The Vanishing Point, and we'll continue to stay those things so long as you continue to stay you. I love you guys, I'm glad that we get to make this all the time, and I'd love to be able to make it an actual full-time job. That way my girlfriend doesn't get mad that I spend most of my time at home doing this when I could just do this while she's at work. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Unless, of course, you're not subscribed, then I'll see you when I see you. But if you do subscribe, I'll be in your subscription box every 2 weeks. Wouldn't that be nice? You get to see this lovely face, ugly face, whichever. I'm not gonna tell you how to think of my appearance, but you could tell me how you think about it. I'm sure probably most answers are gonna be not a lot. I'm just playing bits for the camera. I don't know. The episode's over. I'm just gonna go drink some juice. Bye.